Today we are going to be talking about an extremely important subject that you should all consider when buying yourself a car. How much power do you need in your car? Where you can not only have fun, but have fun in a way where you're not constantly going absolutely berserk over the legality of those limits, right? Because if your car is a little bit too fast for what is allowed, you're going to be constantly worrying about stepping on the gas, doing a cool little pull because, wow, look, you pulled for 3 seconds and now you're in go to jail limits. This car here has 190 horsepower, or at least it did before I did a stage 1 tune. Now, where I live, 90% of the roads, the speed limit is 90 kilometers, right? There's one highway which speed limit is like 100, 110, so it's all relatively quite gay. Now, in these situations where you're allowed to go 90, you don't need a Bugatti Chiron with 1000 horsepower. So, if I go from here and do a little pull, it's all illegal, bro. It's all legal. But if I would have had a Bugatti, that would have been 200. Obviously, you're not gonna have a Bugatti. The real question is it fun? And I will say the 240, it has 400 Newton meters of torque, which is pretty good. 240 is fun. I have fun driving this particular vehicle right here. If I go take a right turn right here, right, and I go from here, and now I press the gas, that I would go a little bit faster? Yes. Is it something that I need? Definitely not. You're never going to need over, I'd say 240, 250, but I think it's more like 300. Because if you're going to be doing overtakes, right, it is nice to have a little bit of extra, a couple extra horses, When you're doing twisty road driving like this, you're never really going to go over, well, you can go over the speed limit a little bit if you want to, right? But in this situation here, you don't really need like 400 horsepower. Because the fun of this here is you have to keep the car, relatively stable by handling it around these corners, and it's fun to accelerate out of the corners. But if you have 400 plus horsepower, that acceleration will be maybe a bit too fast. Because with this car, I get to enjoy it. See, I'm going out this, I drop it to second, and now I get to floor it, and I get to floor it for like 4 seconds, right? And I am in relatively, legitimately respectable levels of speed, right? The formula to the correct amount of horsepower that you require is this. First factor, what do you enjoy doing? How do you enjoy driving, and how do you drive the most? So if you do a lot of twisty road driving like this, you could get away with a lot less horsepower. I'd even say, I think the first level of, you can say that it can be fun to drive is like 200 horsepower. Maybe a little bit less if you have like a really small sporty car, because it just weighs nothing in its physics, right? But for most people, 200 horsepower is like the base, is like the first area where you'll have some fun driving the car, because it'll have a little bit of like, a little bit of that where you press it and it actually throws you in your seat a little bit, right? 200 is really like, you're more like gently gliding forward than accelerating. I went from 190 to 240, and that 50 increase is massive. It is huge. It really is. It changes the car. Well, this also, because of the stage 1 tune, it also changed the gear shifts, which makes the car feel a lot sportier too, because, well, shifts are snappier. So if I go boom and I shift, it's like almost instant, even though it's, you know, it's a DSG. It's quite fast. You know, I wouldn't say it's too slow. I went from 190 to 250. 190 was like, look, it's moving. 250 was like, oh, look, it's like quite moving. It's moving pretty well, right? But it never quite gives you that, whoa, you know? Never quite is that. Now, if you're going on the highway, if you drive mostly on your highway where you can go up to like 100 miles per hour, so it's like 160 kilometers, 170, I don't know, something like that, right? It is probably good to have even more horsepower. There's so many people around. Let's turn around, bruh. Whatever. If you drive mostly on the highway, let's do a first one. Oh, look. Oh. If you drive a lot on the highway, you'll get away with much more horsepower. Especially if it's not too long, right? So if you're just cruising, obviously you'll accelerate once. Maybe you'll overtake someone, right? But if you have like a 20-minute commute and you get to do a couple good accelerations without, you know, going berserk over the speed limit, I'd say 400 is a good 400, maybe even 500 is a good respectable level. But in this situation now, I'm buying an RSQ3. It has 400 horsepower, which kind of goes against everything I just said, that you don't need it. But I mean, at the end of the day, you're never going to have enough power, because there'll always be someone with a more powerful car, a faster car, and you'll always want more. But respectfully and like logically speaking, if I had an RS6 on this road, besides of course the amazing handling that it provides, could I really enjoy it to its full? I would never even be able to fully step on the gas, because look at that shift, amazing. I would never be able to fully step on the gas, because what I just did would have been like 110, okay? And that is not, you know, that is not okay in this situation. It is not okay, bro. However much of a hooligan you are, can't be doing 110 and a 70, okay? I dropped it down to second. What a great little area. We pop it down, we shift, we use the paddles, and we fly. Well, that was a little bit of a hooligan pull, but it's all CGI, so, you know, it's enjoyable, even with 240. If I had 400, obviously, the pull, that's the main thing, the G's you experience, the pull of the car is more fun. But if that pull is, there's also an equation how, if you're pulling too hard and the numbers climb too fast, how often are you gonna really be able to pull because you're worried about going too fast? Maybe there's a fucking child who jumps in the way. Maybe there's a reindeer. Maybe there's a policeman, right? And you don't want to be in the situation where you're going too fast, right? You don't want to be. Everybody has a different idea of going too fast, but like relatively speaking, you don't want to go too fast. You want to go the right amount of fast that it is fun. What I suggest you think about when considering your budget, obviously what car you want to buy requires your budget, unless you're rich, which you're not. You should start at 250 horsepower, you know, and you can, and anything over that, you should think about, like, and consider your budget and the overall comfortability and like other factors of the car. Because if you have 250, you're gonna have fun on the twisty roads, okay? You're gonna have fun. It might not be like, oh, but it'll be like, oh, nice. Now 300, if you can get 300, great, get 300. There's no downsides to having 300 over 250. Now, if we go to 350 or 400, it does start having downsides in these situations, because you'll be going too fast too often, and it'll result in you never being scared to go full throttle, which going full throttle is fun. I don't care what you say, pressing the gas and going as fast as you possibly can is dope, okay? Whatever car you have, if you go full speed, it is fun. If you have a lot of situations like this, more horsepower would be dope. But, you know, not necessarily required. That was still quite fun. But yeah, in that situation, what you just saw, where I just did a straight line pull, the more the merrier, honestly. Because the only real area where I felt like, oh, I'm moving fast, was the first gear and a little bit of second gear pull. But once it hit that 70 kilometers per hour mark, it really drops off. Now this is a 4-cylinder, obviously it has 240 horsepower, so it's to be expected, right? But the perfect car for a straight line pull like that is where it feels up to like 110 kilometers an hour, it feels fast. It feels like you're really pulling. That's the sweet spot. But if you do a lot of highway driving, and you actually have highways and motorways, whatnot, I would say the first level of real fun, well, 250 I can't say that it's not fun, but like 400 is where you'll really get more fun out of a highway, or 450 or something like that, because you'll really be able to pull, and since you have to go at higher speeds, you'll be able to enjoy the higher speeds. You'll be able to enjoy those nice fast pulls, okay? This was one of the conundrums I fell into. I've always wanted an RS7. I think it's the coolest car in the world. If we lived in a perfect world and I could drop the gas and go 200 here, then the RS6 would obviously be more fun. But because of the restraints and the reality of you being worried about your speeds and, you know, just being a non-complete hooligan of society and a risk to human safety,